Entering the Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings. 2020 RSM Classic DraftKings picks and preview bets will be coming towards the end of the show. You can always check the time descriptions to find out what you want to hear about by range. Also, you got to use fantasynational.com. Only 2 official PGA events left in the season. You get your weekly. You use fantasynational.com/Mayo. It's like $8, so you should probably go do that now. We're going to have some huge announcements come the new year from Fantasy National, and something that a lot of you may be very interested in. That's the tease I will give you, because I am not at liberty to say any more at this point. It's private stuff, but it'll be public soon enough, and you're all going to fucking enjoy it. Trust me on that one. Ben Rasa from awesemo.com is on the line. Ben, what if I told you you could donate to Movember? Would you do that?
Might be something I'd be interested in.
All right, so here's what you do. You go to @BestOfMatt on Twitter. Matt is currently producing the show. He has the world's most god-awful mustache right now. It's hard to look at. It's actually affecting the quality of the show. So what you have to do is go to his Twitter page, Best of Matt. There's a Movember donation at the very top, pinned to the top of his Twitter page. Go donate, and he can shave this fucking thing, and it'll stop disgusting me so much. And it's for a good cause, apparently, so even better.
Sounds legit. Okay.
See, I didn't realize it was for, like, you know, a charity or anything like that. I thought he was just raising money, and he was going to grow this out for so long, being like, yeah, I'm going to need like $5K in order to shave this. I went to a piano bar one time, and the piano guy just played really shitty piano, and you had to pay him to stop. It was genius.
Yeah, that's the long con. That is a pretty sharp move, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, you don't even need to be good at this point. How was the Masters for you?
It was all right. I'll be honest, it was frustrating. I was really happy with what I did. My 6-6 percentage was good. I needed a -1 cut, which I didn't get. That hurt to get Finau and those guys in. I wanted them out. And then when a 50% owned guy wins, that's usually problematic for me. I had some DJ, but not in the main stuff. And that really killed what I thought were pretty good teams.
Cam Smith and Justin Thomas kept me afloat. Not that I had a winning week on DraftKings by any means, but I did not lose all of my money, which is always nice. I lost like half my money because I also did not have DJ. I was just like, you know, I like DJ well enough. Everyone knows that he's the play. He's the right price. And I think we had the ownership projections at like 25%. I was like, it's going to come in higher than that. And if he just doesn't win, I'm fine. And of course, he goes out and steamrolls everyone. So you win some, you lose some. Shout out to Ryan Baroff, who won $200K. I assume you didn't have a lineup better than that.
No, I was putting my rooting interest behind that. Congrats to Baroff. Yeah, Champ got it done for him. Listen, when you have guys that are that popular, I say this all the time, they're that popular for a reason. And there are going to be times when you get absolutely crushed if you go against them. But you got to take a long-term view. And I was pretty happy with how everything shook out at the Masters. And honestly, we were talking a little before the show, RSM Classic, underrated tournament. This is actually a pretty good one, coming off obviously the biggest tournament of the year. And
we're going to fall into a situation much like last week where everyone is on one guy. Will you fade him or will you play him? I think that's the decision this week, and I'm fading him, so that's going to be fun.
Listen, it's the same story. Obviously, I view Webb and DJ differently. Obviously, for a lot of reasons, this is a different field strength. You don't have as many pivots up there, but at the same time, I don't think Webb possesses as big of just go out and decimate the field gene. There's a lot to break down, and that's one of the interesting things about this slate.
So it's basically the biggest comp course for the RSM, and its 2 courses, is the Heritage, usually the week after the Masters in regular times. But this year, obviously, Heritage was played coming out of COVID. It was the second tournament back, and you had Rory, and you had DJ, and you had Brooks, and you had the superstar field at the Heritage this year. This is actually the Heritage field that we normally get, and somehow it's the week after the Masters again.
Yeah, it's a weird, bizarro 2020 thing. As you mentioned, after the Masters is usually a weaker RBC field where it's just the guys that are like, you know, those sponsors, and this is kind of that. So we have a polarizing situation up top with Webb. We've got a lot of Euros here. That was my first takeaway when I looked. There was a lot of guys who I guess chose to just stay over, and then Andy Sullivan came over. So some different names, different feel of what we're doing here.
I didn't even notice Andy Sullivan was in the field. Is the Euro still doing the DB World Championship and all that stuff?
I think I haven't really been paying attention. I think they're in Don't quote me. I think they're in South Africa this week.
Yeah, the Joburg Open is happening. I didn't know if that was a Euro event or if that was just like the major South African event that happens. Because I saw my guy Gregor Hicko or whatever the hell his name is. He's not playing somehow.
Yeah, I remember when I used to play Jocko. You remember that guy?
Jaco Van Ziel with the little nub putter?
Yeah, the nub putter. I love that guy. I don't know what he's doing these days.
Oh, if people want to hear a hilarious story, tune into the very end of the Spread Pick show this week. Are you familiar with Cuss? He loves Cameron Champ. Did you know this?
I did not know that. No.
So he loved Cameron Champ. And then he gave up on Cameron Champ, and then Cameron Champ won the Safeway again. And then he got back onto Cameron Champ after a few good starts, then Cameron Champ was kind of shitty. But Cameron Champ obviously played well last week. It turns out that Tim thought that Cameron Champ was Arnold Palmer's grandson.
So he just took Sam Saunders' soul?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't, yeah, I'm going to have to check out the end of that show to hear this fully explained.
Well, it's just funny because Cameron Champ is half black, right?
That's true.
And I don't think that Arnold Palmer is black. I'm not sure on that. I don't know how that works, but I just thought
put it at doubtful.
It was kind of funny.
Yeah, that's something. Good old Cust. I am surprised. I'm not sure why I am surprised though. I could see how that happens.
Let's dig into this. We got 2 courses for the RSM, 156 players. This is the largest field we've seen since the restart. So the 2 courses, you have the Seaside course, which is like 7,005 yards. It's only a par 70 though. 7,060 yards for the par 72. T Dunks beat Webb Simpson in a playoff last year, costing me a double, which I was not too thrilled about. But the players will play each of the courses the first 2 rounds, and then both rounds 3 and 4 will be at Seaside. There's shot link at Seaside. There is not at Plantation. If you're playing Showdown, I actually didn't go back and look at the numbers, so I could be completely off base on this, but you just stack Plantation guys, right?
Yes. You have to streaks, bonuses, huge advantage by going to the Plantation course.
Yeah, 2 extra par 5s. That's all you really need to know.
Literally, that's all you need to know.
I didn't look into the actual stats behind it, but I said it in my PGA Tour video. I was like, well, I really hope this is true. I'm just trying to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the numbers either, but I feel pretty strongly saying, yeah, you have to do that. I mean, it would be pretty outrageous to go the other way.
The problem this week, especially in terms of the betting market, because I saw Webb was 7-1 and Hatton was 20-1. I was like, well, that just makes Hatton a severely better play. He does not have. Webb doesn't have 2.2 times the win equity of Tyrrell Hatton. At least in my mind, he doesn't. But anyone can kind of win at this course. It's one of those courses where everyone's not going to have a chance to win. Like if we go down to the bottom and we see, I don't know, I was going to say Michael Kim, but he could potentially still win. Like Kevin Stadler, one of the worst players in the field. Like he could technically win here. Like his game isn't. So, his skill set isn't so bad that he couldn't win at this course. It's all wedges and it's all putting.
So this is the problem with Webb in general this week. A lot of times, like DJ last week, I really felt, and I still feel this way, if you rostered him, you were literally drawing to him basically winning the tournament. In a field like this, the winner could come from any range. So if Webb, who is by far the safest play, comes in like 12th, he actually could be really useful. And that's the concerning part about fading him for me. I'm still going to look for ways to probably get underweight if he's like 40% owned, but that's the one concern I have is that Webb's floor really helps out because the winner could come from any range. Unlike the Masters, I felt pretty confident it was going to be a big name.
Yeah, and at these non-major tournaments, obviously we had the Masters, we had the U.S. Open, and guys from the top of the board ended up winning. Almost at every single other tournament, it's been like a $6,000 player.
And that's what I'm saying. So it's like, if that person takes all the placement points, Webb's what you need to return value for Webb is mitigated. And he's by far, to me, the most likely person to top 20, to top 10. And that's where it's an interesting situation. So if you get another big time winner, of course, Webb is in big trouble. But if you get a winner from the 6 or 7K range, Webb is probably more likely than not in that optimal.
Yeah, then it just becomes like when you go to betting sites and they give you group betting. And it's like, here are 5 guys. Webb Simpson's the favorite of these 5 guys. Essentially, that's what this would turn into, is that he would have to beat Im, Fleetwood, Hatton, and Henley.
Correct. And that's where, if those guys don't play great, he could, like I said, he could get you there with a score that you would normally not take at 11,200. So we have to keep an eye on that. I still think more often than not, though, when a guy is that popular, it's not to say I'm full fading him. I like Webb. He's the safest play. I just don't know how you fully leverage unless you want to lock him in.
Looking at it right now, I'm looking at the ownership projections. We're doing this on a Wednesday afternoon, so they're a bit more accurate than they usually are when we film the show on a Tuesday. Although the hype for this tournament isn't quite there. I think we had far more lineups generated at this point last week by like 4 times than we do for the RSM Classic. But the calculated ownership that we're seeing from Fantasy National right now, again, fantasynational.com/Mayo, if you want to check out all of this stuff, is 22%. However, one of the features that I do like about our ownership projections, because they're not like dead on every single time. They're kind of a range. But I like to look at the actual lineup generated, how many times this guy appears in lineups. So the calculated ownership percentage by people like favoriting him is 22%. When people actually generate lineups, he's in 36% of those lineups. So he could push 40% here.
He could. And, just to give over at Awesemo, we obviously have premium ownership rankings. And I looked right before I came on the show, and we have him right there. Just around 40%. I think he could push that, which that's a big number. Like I said, I can't reiterate. He is made for this course. He won at Heritage. Everything that you want, Webb does here. But man, that's a huge number if you're going to get a fraction of the ownership to several other guys.
Do you buy into, because I kind of do, this is a strategy when I won the big monies at the Heritage, this is exactly what I played into, is that anyone who made the cut at the Masters the week before, I was like, I'm just not going to play those guys. I'll play everyone else.
I do think there is something to that. I break it up a little bit differently. I think if it's I don't want to say a life-changing week, but I think it hurts guys like Fratelli and possibly Corey Connors a little more than it hurts guys like Webb and Fitzy.
What about Sungjae?
Yeah, I think it hurts him because, again, he was not that he was battling, but he was kind of in contention. I don't know. Sungjae always plays, though, so I think that mitigates it a little. I don't think it's ideal. I'll tell you this much. If my guy missed the cut at the Masters, I don't worry about that at all.
No, those are usually the guys who end up winning. The last guy to actually win the week after the Masters after making the cut, he won Heritage after making the cut at the Masters, was Kadira, who I bet this week at 750 to 1.
Well, you just talked about your big win. That guy has always been good to you, so...
And he's actually made the past 2 cuts, and we're back at what feels like should be a home course for him. I mean, 750 to 1. I mean, why not? It's worth $5, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, when you're getting those odds, you did mention this is a field. Truly, it is wide open. The win equity is not nearly as condensed as we've seen. You could have a first-time winner here. You could have a guy from the clouds. So I get it opening up the numbers. So
Webb and Im are both over $11,000 and over. Then it's Fleetwood, Hatton, and Henley. I don't understand this Hatton pricing. Hatton's the second-ranked player in this field behind Webb by 1 spot in the world rankings. He's inside the top 10 in the world. He's the 4th most expensive guy. I mean, I don't get. Again, I think this is where people maybe overreact to a miscut at the like he's been bad in majors. He's been dominant everywhere else this year. So I get it. I have no concerns about going right back. The guy that I'm confused about is Fleetwood. I just can't get him right. So Ty Hatton for me at that $800 discount off Webb is a great starting point. And just looking at the ownership, like Webb is like by far the most owned guy, but like Henley is going to be more owned than Hatton, which I get if you run like, I mean, I'm looking at my modeling right now. I actually have Hatton number 3 over the past 3 months. Henley number 1. Like Henley has been amazing, and this is the sort of course where you want him. Coastal course, short, Bermuda. That's like the Russell Henley playbook. I get it, but I'd still prefer Hatton. He's just a better player. Same. And yeah, listen, it's not to knock. I like Russell Henley a lot, but I find myself when I see Russell Henley at 10-1, how different is he than Kisner and Harman? Yeah, he's playing better. He is, but you're pricing out a lot of that upside. Whereas Ty Hatton, I think he's kind of proven he belongs up here. And coming off, again, a miscut to me that means literally nothing. It's disappointing on its own merit that he hasn't shown up in these majors, but he's going to be just fine. So that kind of comes down to the build. Like if you use Webb, you're going to have to play somewhat stars and scrubs because he's so expensive. Same as Sungjae. But if you start with Hatton, you can jam in 2 9Ks if you want to, or just use Henley along with him. Like I don't know what to do with Sungjae because, again, like Henley, this is a preferred, like when we talk about Webb, par 70, Bermuda grass, not super long. that's this. And Sung Jae plays those courses exceptionally well too, as does Henley. Like those three guys in particular are kind of made for this course. That I do think that, if you swerve off of them, it's risky, but I do think that is the move here.
Yeah, I mean, Sanjay, we saw during the Florida swing. He's a damn good player. It's just, again, about structuring. I think it's soft enough that if you want, you can easily take two. I did that last week, basically exclusively, and it's a different situation, but I'll definitely have lineups that start with 2 of the 5 of these guys.
I think I might just go Hatton and then drop to the 9K level, because in the 9s, like you have players down, like guys who are better than the guys up top, at least in my mind. Like you have Fitz, English, Day, Louis, Lowry, Neiman, and Munoz. I don't know how COVID affected Neiman, but he is hilariously underpriced here.
Neiman is, like you just mentioned, he had to withdraw from the Masters. He's back. He was absolutely dominant coming in. Not to mention, he literally took apart Heritage. 11.2 strokes gained tee to green. If he putted at all, he probably would have won. I love Neiman. He makes sense. He can easily be your second man in. I don't think that he can be your first man in. That's a little too balanced in my mind.
Well, it's just, if you did that, your lineup would have to be like Neiman, Munoz, Connors, Kokrak, Kisner, Harmon. Like that would be your lineup.
Yeah, you're literally just sandwiching to a ridiculously micro range. So Neiman makes sense though. I don't worry about the course fit at all. And coming off, I feel like people, 1 week, you guys off and everyone kind of loses them in what we saw at the Masters.
And I think that all of these guys will end up going severely under-owned relative to where they should be, because I do think most people will use Webb and probably someone else above $10,000, leaving this range completely barren. Like, is anyone using Jason Day this week? No. He'll be like sub 2% owned.
Yeah, well, I don't know what to do with him.
Pass. Just don't play him. Everyone's life is a lot better. When it comes down to these certain guys that like the Louis, the Days, I don't think you should ever try to pick your spots with them. Sergio is very much the same way too. Either you play them or you don't. Don't try to trick because you'll just get them wrong every time.
Yeah, well, I mean, my strategy is just I always play them.
Well, there you go.
Yet somehow I always get them wrong. So I guess that's telling me something. I like Fitzy. I think Louis, if the wind is really up, is totally fine. No problem with that. Neiman, certainly my preferred play in the 9s, though. I think that's pretty obvious.
I like Lowry as well. He continues to strike the ball incredibly well. He did make the cut at the Masters, but he was never really in it by any means. He was played with Tiger the first 2 days, and this seems like a Shane Lowry course. He's someone who plays well at Heritage as well.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. Listen, I'm not going to knock a guy for making the cut. I think it's more important if they really expended a ton of energy to do something, like Connor's getting into next year's Masters, Sanjay pseudo contending. Like Fitzy and Lowry, they made the cut and they played 2, stress-free days of golf on the weekend. That's no big deal.
Are you going to use Fitzy? Because it seems like by the ownership percentages, Harris English is the one everyone is gravitating towards. Yeah,
I'm going to use Fitzy. I do think, Bermuda, this is what he wants to do as well. The results are a little, it's not as good as I wish, but he's a crazy good putter. We know that. You can get it done a lot of different ways. I have no problem with him. I'm not running to the window to jam him in, but he's someone I probably will start a few lineups with, actually, if I go way different.
Oh, I picked Sea. I was trying to find the wind, and I typed in Sea Island, but it came up as Seal Island, and I didn't notice. I was like, where the fuck is this?
Where is that?
Yeah. I actually have no idea. I'm trying to completely zoom out here. I'm not familiar with this part of the map. Oh, it's off one of the little archipelagos at the bottom of Alaska. Probably not the wind that I'm looking for.
Slightly different.
Are you surprised that English is going to garner so much ownership over the other names here?
I mean, I'm surprised that people play him ever, but am I surprised? Not really. I mean, his form has been fantastic. He's only missed 1 cut basically in 6 months. The course history, I think if people look, will bring up a giant red flag, but a lot of that could be bad data. He's turned the corner. I'm not there. I get it. I think he's a fine, maybe a pseudo cash play. To me, there's better upside plays than Harris English, though.
Looking at the course history right now, obviously you have Webb Simpson 2nd and 3rd the past 2 years. Henley's is hilarious because he's been cut the last 2 years, but before that he was 10th and he was 6th. You mentioned English, who's been cut 3 of the past 4 years. This tournament, people forget, is always really random because you have the 2 courses. It's just weird.
Yeah, and it's a huge field. You just mentioned that. It's hard to make this cut no matter who you are. Two courses, you can get weird conditions. You got to make a lot of putts. There's a lot of variance in this. So you're not going to find a ton of guys that are just automatic cut makers in this type of situation.
Looking back at last year, it was like the all putting team. You had Webb, Munoz, Todd, Norlander, McCarthy, Noren. Will Gordon actually had a top 10 last year here. Brian Stewart, Brian Harmon, JT Poston. These are the guys who ended up playing well here a year ago. But the field obviously wasn't as strong.
No, but to me, this is a pretty easy course to break down. You need to hit those irons. You need to give yourself a lot of birdie chances, and you need to make some. You can't. There's some guys that if you don't putt at all, it's going to be really difficult.
The more you keep talking, the fact that you brought up Louis, I wasn't even thinking about Louis, but if it is one of these types of courses, like him and Day between the two, it does feel like one of them is just going to putt the lights out. Louis,
to me, he's been putting very well. He's shown that he can handle, I see a little Valspar in this. He's crafty around the greens. Again, I think it needs to play tougher for him to really get in the mix, but from what I've seen from the wind, it could be quite windy. So I have some Louis interest.
Are you going to play the 23% Sebastian Munoz?
No, not in this lifetime. He's great. I got to give him credit though. Every time I think there's a spot to jump off, he just continues to churn out quality finishes, but I'm not going to play him here, I don't think.
I'm not either. It's not that it's too expensive. It's too expensive, plus everyone is using him. Everyone is using Munoz, Connors, and Fratelli instead of using, at least in my mind, the better players completely sandwiched around them.
Correct. Anytime I get a combination of slightly overpriced, slightly over-owned, coming off what I would deem a not great situation, it's probably a spot I look to fade.
What do you do in the 8Ks? Because this is where you got the names. You got Connors and Fratelli coming off fantastic weeks, getting themselves into the Masters next year. Kokrak, the chalk bomb. Everyone was on Kokrak, and he was playing well until he wasn't. Kisner, Herman, Rose, Poulter, CH3, who won here 2 years ago. Mac Hughes, who's a former champion here. Doc Redmond, Zach Johnson. The only two I have stars next to right now, Hughes and Redmond.
Like Redmond a lot. Fair price. Can get it done, tee to green. Got to make some putts, but he can do that as well. So do you not like Kisner and Harmon? To me, they're two guys, they're staple of this event. Harmon's just automatic right now making cuts. Kisner's not playing well, but he loves this place. What do you do with them?
I usually don't play them anyway. These are guys that I play when they're like $7,200 players.
Okay. That's fair.
And I know they're properly priced in this field, but I don't know. Unless Herman really has, what has he made? 13 cuts in a row or something?
It's ridiculous. He's been just dealing.
With no top tens?
Yeah. Harmon to me is, I think you play him in cash tournaments, depending on the ownership, you can kind of do what you want. Kisner to me is the opposite. I bet Kisner, actually. I like them more in the outright market than in the DFS side of things, because I think the upside is there, but he's not playing great. I was disappointed. I know Augusta's not a good course for him, but I thought he would play better last week.
I think I'd be more prone to go to players who are going to be 1/3 the ownership, like Rose or Poulter.
Yeah, Poulter, Rose, I'll be honest, I just don't know what to do. He seems overpriced. He seems underpriced. I don't know. He's all over the map. He was good at Heritage. He can make his fair share of putts. Poulter seems less variance. He kind of just does his thing, and this is another good course for him.
He's someone who's played Heritage well in the past, but he had been playing like garbage going into the Masters, and he ended up coming T25.
Yeah, he makes the cut there. He was on my main team, and he got a little dicey, but he just kind of does his thing. He makes timely putts. Doc Redmond, probably my favorite in the whole range, though. I really like the spot for him.
Well, it's you in the world love Doc Redmond this week. I bet him to win at 80-1. Or 70-1.
Yeah, part of the problem, and we'll get to him in a second, I seriously was considering playing almost 100% Sam Burns.
Well, he withdrew.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to do that now, but I really like that spot. So all those shares, some of them are getting dispersed to Doc Redmond.
I'm just looking at it right now. I just the projected ownership on Doc Redmond is it's going to be over 20%. I'm surprised that Taylor Gooch doesn't have a similar type of one at the same price, because he has 2 top 5s in his past 3 starts, and this is an irons and putting course, the 2 things that he can like kind of do well.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. Taylor Gooch is a difficult one for me. He's kind of a guy that I like to target. I know the strength of the field is elevated and the form. I like to target him as like a 1% flyer more than a spot that fits. I'm kind of surprised that coming off, and I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth here, CT Pan fits this course perfectly, but he was absolutely from the clouds last week. What a finish for him. But man, you couldn't think of a better spot for CT Pan just in general.
No, just like when you look at the overall corollaries of these courses, we keep talking about heritage, similar. Obviously, one is in Georgia, one is in South Carolina. They're pretty close to each other. They're both coastal courses. They're both Bermuda, within like a range of each other, and they're both short. So that's the type of thing that you want to target. But Wyndham is also the crossover here. Yep. And Pan has come second at Wyndham, and he's won Heritage. I kind of agree with you. I still have no faith in the guy, despite the fact that he's made 8 cuts in a row.
He's playing well, and obviously exploded last week, but he's starting to find some form. And this is one of the guys, like I said, every corollary you look at, he's got, and he's played well here before. I do like, he's the one guy of, the group that we talked about where you make a cut and you get in the mix, and it's kind of a crowning achievement type week in some ways. I'm still going to have some CT Pan just because I love the course for him. I think this is tailor-made for a good finish.
I'm just going to go on fantasynational.com right now, and I'm going to isolate Heritage and Sedgefield. I'm actually going to leave out the RSM courses and just see who pops out. I guarantee it's like fucking Brian Stewart or something like that.
Get that guy.
Do I want, I'll go last 2 years and just see who has played the best of these guys. Probably need to go a bit deeper than that, but once that loads up,
Snedeker somehow.
It'll be let's see. It's Webb, actually. Webb, Poston, Poulter, Neiman, Jim Herman, obviously after the Wyndham. Kokrak, Kuchar, English, Lowry, Sam Burns would have been up there, and then Cameron Davis, then Hatton, Kisner, Sabatini. Sabatini always plays these courses really well. I always forget he's in the field most of the time.
Yeah, he's a classic Saturday. He's just in 8th, and I'm just like, well, was he in the player pool, or was he a late ad? And then he was, and everyone played him except May.
So 7Ks, you like the Panimal. You're a Panamaniac this week. Is this a good spot to go to Todd? He has been playing like old Brendan Todd again. Not good old Brendan Todd, but like bad old Brendan Todd. But this is like the type of time. This is where he got going last year. It was Bermuda, then it was here, and then it was at the OHL. Like, this is the perfect course for him, isn't it?
Great course for him. Part of me is like when he was putting the lights out and playing fantastic, I was on the wrong side of a lot of those, and I've continued to short him, and now it's starting to pay off. I'm going to need to wait and see. There's too many guys. The opportunity cost, in addition to him just playing awful, I'd rather play Pan. I'd rather play Gooch. Straka is there.
I like Straka this week, but
yeah, I think
it's weird because the guys that everyone's going to kind of like the same guys. Like Varner's going to carry a bunch of ownership. So is Straka. So is Denny, and Austin Cook is hovering right around like 9%. I bet Austin Cook to win as well at 100-1. But then you get players who are just objectively better than them, who no one is using, like Westwood. No one's using Pan, who you mentioned, Gooch. Todd, Noren, Wallace is projected at under 1% ownership. Byrne, under 1%. Shez, like 5%. Kuchar, 3%. Like, is it just a week to gamble on these guys who have like a long-term baseline of being good?
I'm sad that Aaron Wise didn't make your list of players who are better than those guys.
Hey, have you been winning all of the money recently with him playing well again?
No. I've been closer though, at least. Like, it keeps my interest past Friday at like 9 a.m. Now I get to like noon. Yeah, listen, I do think that in a tournament like this, you really have to open it up because the winners could come from here. It's not just, oh, I'll try to get some guys to make the cut. Now, you can't play everybody, but you don't need that much leverage to get over on a lot of these guys, particularly the Euros. You mentioned Wallace. Wiesberger, I want to get to, but honestly, I probably won't. There's just a lot of guys in this range that I think make for really good tournament plays, and I plan to really hit this range heavily.
The other one, right below Wise is Charles, who made the cut at the Masters. Actually had like a little bit of a charge. You talked about Valspar, like this course where he's won before.
Charles, I mean, Maverick is probably going to take those shares for me. I'll be honest.
I have Hadwin projected under 1%.
I don't know what Hadwin's deal. Like he had just been like randomly making cuts and then he finally missed. This is where you got to separate, because like you're right. HV3 is going to garner a ton of interest. You have a lot of one-offs. You mentioned Kuchar. I don't know what to make of him. He's just been piss poor, just like Stenson. God, I think for me, more Maverick, Knox as we work lower, obviously Griot, the regulars.
I'm going back to Malnati, and I don't care.
Dear God.
People used him at like $10,000. Now no one's using him at $7,000.
I didn't use him at 10,000. I thought that was crazy, but I mean, he is an ungodly good putter. Why? And I know this is a great test of why is his course history so bad? Was it just because he was playing so bad in general?
I really don't know. Maybe that there's something to this course that just doesn't fit his eye. Maybe it's just like, course history. It could just be a random thing where this is where it just all hit its head. Like, where does this usually fall on the schedule? It's like is this usually after Mayakovas? Maybe some guys coming back from Mexico to come to this tournament that it doesn't really work for them. And now it's the opposite this year. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, he's just been 4 straight missed cuts and a 75th. That's not the greatest thing. I mean, what about your boy List? Have you just like given up on him?
Yeah, basically.
Okay, your life's probably a lot better now.
I have less stress. Although upside wise in this range, he's probably the guy. Like the defending champ is 2% owned just because he missed the cut at the Masters.
I do think in general that is one of the things to take away. Like the overarching importance of making the cut at the Masters is just, to me, it's zero. I could care less. I think people do weigh it way too heavily. Even scanning the 6K range, I don't think I have anyone projected over 5%. So you can pick basically whoever you want here. I have the Gim. Gim is the only one over 5%, actually. The Gim Reaper, which I said in that PGA video. So I'm expecting notes back from the PGA. You can't say that. But I like Gim at 67. I like Kadira at 62. And I like Spawn at 63. I like Doug Gim a lot as well. Makes sense on a lot of different levels. This is where a tournament could be won. You can open it up. I got some flyers here. Harry Higgs. Okay. Harry Higgs, normally would say like, this isn't a great course for him. But you know what? I comp this a little to, and I know it's just one thing. I comp it a little to Bermuda. And he was very good there. I think there is something to him being able to club down possibly. He can get hot with the putter. He scores like a banshee. If he makes the cut, he's going to outscore his placement. 6,900, no ownership. I looked at him. I looked at Matt Jones. I don't know if I get to Matt Jones. Scott Piercy. You need wind if there's going to be a Matt Jones sighting. Definitely. Like if I play in a weird way, to me, Usti and Matt Jones probably will comp for me in some way when I build this week. Are you on this? Because I look around, Patton Kazire, people are playing him. Is that a real thing? I've heard the exact same thing. I just keep seeing his name pop up in a bunch of places. I was like, Patton Kazire, really? That's not for me. I don't get it. Maybe it's just because like Hudson Swafford won. It's like, wow, it's time for Kazire to launch back in. Like every time that I want to get on Kazire and stuff, like there's indicators pointing to him, he's just absolutely terrible. Yes, and I get he can get crazy out with the putter. He's ripped off some wins here and there. I don't see it. I would rather play a lot of other guys. I'd rather play Scott Stallings. As much as this pains me, and this guy has killed me in the most extreme ways lately. Duffner. I do think what? I was going to say, is it Duffner? No, it's worse than that. He literally just left Bermuda when I needed him to stay. Oh, Pat Perez. Yeah, I think that you could play him at 66. That's so low for him. It's so low. Yes, he's an absolute goblin, and he's been killing me. But 66, that's pretty damn low for a guy that we know if it gets going and he's interested, he could play pretty well here. James Hahn is another one who people are using in the sixes. Expect a lot of teams last man in to be Hahn or Gim. Yeah, I do think that there's a pretty hard cap. People are definitely going to try to end 67 will be a common endpoint. I'll be honest, I don't know how much lower. I have a couple guys left below that. I don't know how often I want to go low, though.
I think that you could definitely go lower than that. You can go all the way down to 6,000 and use Scott Harrington if you really wanted to. I'm not suggesting that, but like I actually think that JJ Spawn is a pretty good play at 63.
Yeah, I mean, Spawn is someone I've always said that I felt like a couple times he was in form and he got hurt, and that really derailed the momentum. Starting to do, he does more out on the West Coast. That's a little concerning, but I don't hate it. Do you have any interest, and this is probably as extreme as I get, in Troy Merritt?
No, I think I only just, and this is pure my mind working and not me actually looking at numbers here. But I think if you ever want to use Troy Merritt, use him in June, July, and August, and that's it.
I mean, when you look at his top finishes in life, they do come in the summer. He's made 3 straight cuts. He's gained 3 straight with the approach. He's got it was a while ago. He had a good showing at Heritage, but like, I don't know. I looked at him. I mean, people want to play Glickich because he's making all these cuts. I don't know about that either.
I enjoy him as like a first round leader bet, but I don't think I'm going to go anything crazier than that. I actually pulled up the past 24 rounds at Harbortown and Sedgefield CC. Webb, Kuchar, Kisner, Poulter, Harris, English, top 5. Sabatini, Neiman, Poston, Lowry, CT Pan is the rest of the top 10. Then you have like Harmon, Stenson, Fratelli, Kokrak, Garnett, Cam Davis. Like Bryce Garnett's $6,600.
That guy.
He's made 3 cuts in a row.
3 cuts in a row, doing it with the putter, but he's someone that when he gets, Corrales, OHL, a lot of OHL in there, huh? Interesting. Yeah, Heritage. This does seem like that kind of coastal. I got to ask you then. I mean, I think we all know coastal. Yeah, are you going to GMAC?
I think I'd rather go to Adam Long, weirdly enough.
Okay, that's fair.
Because this takes, like, his worst skill is driving the ball, but he still hits a ton of fairways. He's just not long off the tee. So I think this is a course where if he can get the putter hot, like his irons can be really good. Once we're down here, like we're talking about sporadic players, but I think that Poston at 73 is like a must play.
Yeah, I mean, again, it comes down for me, how much do I have to allocate? If it's more than a couple shares to get over, then I have to take a longer look.
Like I have Poston projected at 6%.
Yeah, like that is an easy buy. Now, if he's 15%, that's a totally different conversation. And it's not the end all be all, but it's just trying to balance your portfolio. I like guys down there. Like I said, Knox, Piercy. There's some names I feel pretty good with. I took a long look at Streelman. I don't know if I'm going to get there though.
The issue is like even Zhang is below.
Oh boy,
Zhang Gang. He's $6,400, but you have like Mark Hubbard, who is a very good player, who I just didn't even mention. He's $6,800. No one's using him. Glover, he missed the cut at the Masters. Oh, sorry. He's now 1% owned because everyone's using Patton Kazire right above him. The problem is, if this really would be a good week to go like pure stars and scrubs, because these scrubs aren't terrible by any means. Like there's not a ton of difference besides like Cam Davis is 72, for example. Knox is 72. Sink is 73. I know he just won, but you have like Damon at 74. Like these guys aren't significantly better than the $6,200 players.
And that again is why Webb is so appealing, because if you get someone from down here, you might actually need to spend the money somewhere else. Webb is going to be really helpful if someone from down here really gets in the mix.
All right. You want to talk some bets?
Sure.
You said you bet Kevin Kisner?
Yeah. Is that bad?
I don't think so. I mean, you might as well take a guy who could actually win.
That's what I'm saying. He's got a WGC. He can do it.
He won here.
He's won here. I let it fly on Kisner.
I actually bet way more than I thought I was going to bet this week, which is never a good sign for me.
Well,
let's see here. I got Hatton at 18. Sorry, I missed out on the 20 number. Lowry at 39. Hughes and Redmond at 60 with the top 5 each way. I played Poston at 90 with the each way, Cook at 100, Gim at 125, Spawn at 175, and Kadira at 750.
No Malnati. You didn't go for 50 on Peter?
He's 150 to 1?
Yeah.
Oh, I just assumed he was. Let me go check on him right now. Might as well have to add him to the curry. If I'm just playing bombs, and we only have 2 golf tournaments left.
Yeah. Last game of the year. Can't hold anything back now.
Malnati 125. Yeah, that's good enough. I'll get on him too.
I bet
take my $20, Peter Malnati.
I bet Piercy at that number at 125. That was as deep as I went.
Well, it's all right. If Scott Piercy doesn't win, he'll just launch a recount into the scoring, and then maybe he'll just end up winning like 3 weeks from now.
We'll take it any way we can get it, Scott Piercy.
I like that he is the only athlete that I kind of feel bad at this point because maybe you never know what people post on the internet. They just might see something and post it out. But him just having QAnon stuff on his Instagram once just has completely skewed my opinion on Scott Piercy.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
he might have just hit, like, because sometimes like I'll like something and not mean to do it.
Fat fingered it. Yeah, it's not like a Grayson situation. For Grayson. Yeah, this is as much, listen, it's not the Masters, but I actually like betting these type of tournaments much better. You can get a bomb finish here.
Well, it's funny because someone kind of asked me, it's like, well, your Masters picks weren't very good. I was like, I had the guy in second place. So like, he cashed in 19-1 each way. That was fine. I was like, but it doesn't matter. Like, well, I do enjoy betting the Masters. There's just more bets available, and it's something that people tune into more. I mean, 80-1 at the Masters and 80-1 at the RSM is exactly the same, except the 80-1 guy might actually win the RSM.
Yeah, in fact, I'd say it's way more likely that someone from the, like, I'm just looking, like Harry Higgs, top 10 finish, plus 1,200. Like, I can get down with stuff like that. There are going to be guys who get in the mix here that are just not randos, but are not big time players. And you can really, Pat Perez, 16-1 for a top 10. These are guys that I'm taking a long look at.
I also bet Kadira top 5, top 10. Kadira's top 5 was 65-1 and his top 10 was 25-1.
Yeah. So if he wins, will we ever see you again? Or you taking your talents to the beach?
Well, unfortunately, they put a cap on how much you could bet on Kadira because most of the places, like the main play, I saw DraftKings Sportsbook actually had him at 750-1 if people want to go check that one out. I just don't have access to that. Like, he's only 400-1 on my main book where I could bet more, but he's 750 on the other book. I was like, yeah, I might as well just bet the 750. At least I can show a ticket that says 750 if he wins. He's not going to win.
No, but it's all about those Twitter likes. So that's the name of the game.
And look, I'll take my like 5K. That's fine. I'm happy with that. It's better than losing like I do all the time. I haven't hit a winner yet since the season restarted.
That's the one I've said a couple times now. Like I've had some really good chances in DFS. It hasn't materialized. And listen, I caught my fair share of breaks over the last couple of years. I've had a great betting year though. I've hit a couple pretty good outrights and a lot of good top 5s, top 10s. So that's been a pleasant surprise because usually not my strongest suit.
No, I just looked at the spawn bet. I mean, he's 275-1.
Oh, God, you're going to end up making me take a position on JJ. And then he's going to just withdraw.
Oh, yeah, he enjoys himself a withdraw. But
yeah, he's a big-time WD candidate.
I'm not using any, I'm not betting any first-round leaders because on my book, they're just not offered this week with the 2 courses. I know some places they are. Take Plantation, guys. Actually, don't. Yeah, do you take Plantation, guys? Because it's a par 72. Yes, yeah, of course you would.
Yes, you definitely.
Yeah. What am I thinking?
Yeah, sometimes they splice it. Like you may have some books have 2 first-round leaders, but if it's all mixed and it's not shaded, then yes, you want to go to the Plantation side.
Yeah, so instead of that, I just took some extra bombs this week. So Poston, Cook, Gim, Malnati, Spawn, and Kadira, 90-1 to 750-1. I actually just think Hatton's going to win.
Yeah, hey, I mean, he's like I said, you take out the majors, nobody's played better. So I could get down. If Hatton wins, I probably would snap take that just blindly right now, given what I'm going to do. I
just didn't understand his odds versus Webb's. I think that's really, I guess the course history is baked into Webb here, and that's why he's so such the overwhelming favorite, but I just don't understand it.
No, I mean, I think we kind of get that a lot. I had a similar notion even with a guy like Fitzy, who's around 30-1. Like Webb is so poor. And listen, we saw this with DJ, and Webb could go out and get it done, and I wouldn't even be remotely surprised. But you're still weighing. It's not the percentage of success. It's weighing the odds against that percentage, and that's where it gets a little lost for people. Just because it's likely that he plays well, you have to weigh it against his ownership in DFS.
All right, that'll do it. Pat Mayo Experience talking RSM Classic DraftKings bets. What do you got going at Osimo?
Yeah, busy. We're getting ready for, obviously, keep your eyes peeled. We're going to run some fun specials before Thanksgiving. That's my favorite football slate of the year until the Lions game kicks off, and then it goes poorly, but it's a great time of the year here. So keep an eye out for that. Obviously, golf, we will keep it rolling, and then we'll probably do sneak in a couple Euro breakdowns while we take a little break getting ready for January.
Why don't you just take some time off?
Yeah, well, I mean, I need time off because college basketball starts in a week. And
Oh, shit, really?
it's 350 teams. I don't know much about any of them, so I am going to be busy with college football and college basketball. Those are my two favorite sports anyway, so.
More than golf?
Good.
More than Euro golf?
Oh, well, I mean, I like golf. I enjoy it on the DFS side. But betting-wise, college football by far my favorite.
Hey, are you having a good year? I have not made a single college football bet yet.
Yeah, it's been actually pretty good. It's not the same without fans, and you literally can't get information. Like, you play these teams and then legitimately they're like, oh yeah, their D line has COVID, the whole line. It's like, oh, I wish I knew that. So there's a lot of frustration on that front.
All right, that'll do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. DraftKings picks, bets for the RSM Classic. Subscribe and become a member at fantasynational.com right now. fantasynational.com/Mayo for that discount. Subscribe to Mayo Media Network and the audio podcast wherever you find your podcast. Smash the like, rate and review, all that fun stuff too. Cheat sheet will be up on DKPlaybook.com a little bit later on Wednesday afternoon. I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!